This is the value of wrestling, the revolutionary force in wrestling podcasting.
Oh, I'm back on the Big Time, and we're going to do another episode of the Big Tyme Rants, episode 78. We're going to talk about Meltzer, Uncle Dave Meltzer, Uncle Dave, yes, and we're going to talk about Tony Khan. We're going to go over all of that right here on this episode of Big Tyme Rants. Stay tuned. Didn't know? Well, tell somebody. On the Big Time, I'm here in studio with another episode of the Big Tyme Rants right here on the Value Wrestling, right on YouTube. Welcome to the show. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Thank you for coming out. We're going to talk about Dave Meltzer and good old Uncle Tony, or Uncle Dave and good old Tony. God, Dave Meltzer out here on rants, just going off on people, as always on Twitter. Seems to be the biggest mark for one Tony Khan. Tony Khan can't do anything in his eyes much that is wrong. Big thing coming out of all of this right now is Tony Khan just announced a match for Dynamite next coming Wednesday, April 3rd. It'll be Powerhouse Hobbs versus Will Ospreay. It's going to be Battle of the Wills from Worcester, Massachusetts. Worcester, Massachusetts. I swear I can pronounce that if I want to, but I am not hitting it right now. Tony, Will Ospreay has retweeted it saying "Christ on a bike." Okay, I guess there's something about that altogether. But out comes Tony Khan. He's making this big match, and we're getting Will Ospreay on the second week of TV. And I'm worried that this is going to become a episode of overuse of Will Ospreay. Will Ospreay is a special attraction and hadn't been used on weekly TV. This could present a case of overusing him. And then we're having another battle inside the Don Callis family. And you have to sit back and wonder if this is the right direction for it all to go. Just because it sets a whole new precedent. And Dave Meltzer out here supporting Tony Khan and his storytelling in ways that are just don't know if we're getting great things. Meltzer out here saying, "Oh, this is right. This is the way it should be." Meltzer is a huge supporter of Tony Khan. If Tony Khan is a money mark, then Meltzer seems to be a Tony Khan mark, and that is definitely something that seems to be more fact, because Dave Meltzer seems to be like the biggest cheerleader for Tony Khan, even when it seems to be hot mess. I mean, what can you say? You look around and just constantly see the hot mess that is there. And Tony Khan has. Again, he's doing another Will Ospreay, Powerhouse Hobbs. This is another Don Callis match. That makes you wonder why. We're getting no real reason. We're calling it the Battle of the Wills. Powerhouse Hobbs, unfortunately, a local Bay Area boy to California, a beast in the independent vets in California. And he's just been booked like a joke in AEW. And it's really, really sad that he has been booked that way when he has a lot of talent and a lot to show. But now he's going to get in the ring with Will Ospreay, only to get fed to Will Ospreay as Will Ospreay goes on this run as he's getting ready for Bryan Danielson at Dynasty. Meltzer had came out and talked about, he was asked, Shibata isn't a storyline, it's a match thrown together, same as Swerve and Takeshita. And you can sit here and debate these both ways. Meltzer replied, yes, it was part of the Danielson storyline. And the Danielson beating him, and Ospreay wants to prove he is good as Danielson. Plus, he wants to show he was better than he was 7 years ago when he beat the hell out of him. Story is Ospreay is getting better. how in his prime. What was the story for Jey Uso and Shinsuke Nakamura? What was the storyline for Ricochet and JD and past Mommy wanting JD to win, and LeRae versus Nia, which came out of nowhere. So Meltzer saying that the storyline there for Will Ospreay and Will Ospreay and Shibata to have a match, which was a good solid match. And yes, they built a little bit about the past between Ospreay and Shibata, and we know Ospreay's preparing to take on Danielson at Dynasty. But I think Meltzer's got this sort of wrong. Now, Jey Uso Nakamura was kind of thrown together just to give us a match. Nakamura's kind of lost in the WWE booking at this point. We're going to have to wait and see how that plays out. But yes, this was not necessarily anything other than a real match just kind of thrown together. But now the Ricochet JD, I believe, passed. Mommy wants JD to win the match. We do have to look at the fact that Ricochet 3 weeks ago now, beat JD, then beat Dom, and then beat JD, and that Mommy wants him to go out there and win, and that JD really hasn't won any matches on Judgment Day. So I believe there's storyline there, and they're building up Ricochet, who's taking on Judgment Day. We got to see where it goes. So we're in the pre-start of the storyline, so I can't say there wasn't any storyline. And of course, Candice LeRae versus Ivy Nile didn't really come out of nowhere, because Nia was out there fighting for her friend, or oh shoot, names just skip my head. Hmm, boy, I wish I could remember her name. Why is her name like just vanishing my head? Niall and LeRae uh, was for who did Candice LeRae just chew out? Maxine Dupree. There we go. That is where that storyline comes from. Sorry, but Lorraine Nile, and this comes from somebody at Undertaker 013. Lorraine Nile comes from the Lorraine bullying Dupree and really taking a darker path. Nile stood up for Dupree last week. Lorraine has been bullying Dupree 2 weeks before Monday. So yes, Meltzer, you're kind of wrong in those statements. That the storyline, yeah, there were storylines and rankings there. Um, Meltzer just seems he's up here, you know, talking about different things, and really just like it seems like Tony Khan can't do anything wrong. But at the same time, is Tony Khan the ultimate booker? Is Tony Khan all these great things when he's throwing Will Ospreay versus Powerhouse Hobbs and saying, "Oh, it's the battle of wills. It's you know a battle of the Don Callis family. Don Callis is going to be out there." Now, granted, now both these men are going to go in the ring. Ospreay is going to give us a amazing match, probably make Powerhouse Hobbs look like $1 million, which is awesome and great. But at the same time, Will Ospreay or Powerhouse Hobbs has not been introduced as a character. At times, he's been introduced as a great character. You power slammed Paul White onto a car, looked like a bad MFer at the time, but then he was duct taped to the ropes, duct taped across the mouth, and looked like a booch in the end of all of that. Um, and now we're trying to put him in the ring, and he's going to have a good match in ring wise with Ospreay, but in the end, Ospreay is going to get the win. And what does this really do to help Powerhouse Hobbs? He's going to showcase his talent, and that's awesome. But storyline, creative wise, directional wise, it just puts another nail in the Powerhouse Hobbs coffin that's really going to hold him back. Kyle Fletcher had an amazing match with Will Ospreay, but he's still regulated to the B shows and the C shows and flounders off into obscurity. Nothing is ever capitalized on. It's just a constant same old cycle. And even Eric Bischoff has come out. He put his podcast to his one podcast to rest the other day, and then Tony Khan came out and tried to mock Bischoff, and Bischoff brought out now Wise Choices, a new podcast where he goes in depth in Tony Khan and what he's kind of doing wrong with his booking and his numbers, and they look over the ratings, and the ratings are showing this. People are peaking and interested in Ospreay, but not maintaining for everybody else who's there. And this is just going to carry along in that storyline. That's not going to help Tony. I don't know. I think Tony Khan needs to. The matches can be good, but we need more storyline. We need more substance. And the bottom line is he's got to bring in the casual fans. He's got his hardcore bases, which is going to be sit there and support him, and they're going to, beat that Tony Khan drum no matter what, and they're going to give him high praise and keep riding with him. But Tony Khan is doing nothing to get the casual fans. Now, I get it. There's tribalism. There's WWE fans that are never going to watch AEW. There's AEW fans who are never going to watch WWE. We get that, but there is a middle group that is willing to watch wrestling if it's good wrestling. And Tony Khan is not capturing that audience. He's not presenting any reason for people to stay, continue to stay, and continuing to watch his program. He's giving them stuff, they tune in, and then they check out and leave. They come in at the top of the hour after the Big Bang Theory on Wednesday nights, and he maintains for that first quarter hour, and then after that, kind of trickles off until you get to the hour, the top of the next hour. People come back to see if anything's been added, anything new, and then they trickle away. And Meltzer supporting Tony Khan and not holding Tony Khan to the quote-unquote fire or the accountability that Tony Khan should have, it is a damn shame, and it just doesn't rectify or make anything better. The thing is, I like AEW. I want to see AEW succeed, but yes, I'm a hard critic of AEW. I'm not going to beat the Tony Khan show. I'm not going to play into the favoritism of Tony Khan just for kicks or giggles or for a moment or for an interview or for, to get in his scrum. I'm going to call it like I see it, and I think Tony Khan is failing. And a lot of the minds of wrestling agree with that same theory. They see the same pattern. Tony wants to be this big global powerhouse on a WWE level, but he's presenting a mid-indie fan moment. I mean, he's TNA level, and if he's ever going to break out of that TNA level, he's going to have to look at his ratings and see what he's missing and find out what's going to draw in those casual fans. And then when he figures out what draws in those casual fans, he needs to bring them in, then maintain them, hold them, and keep them coming. And a lot of that is we need to get rid of the overruns, or at least the major announcements. I mean, a big thing would be to keep Tony Khan off of Twitter. His quote unquote handlers, as it was put out in the Twitter sphere, maybe need to change Tony Khan's password to keep him off of Twitter, because he doesn't need to be tweeting all these things. And there's no reason for Tony Khan to be tweeting, oh, we have a 5-minute overrun, yay! And then every time we get to the, we're gonna stay with this match until it ends. It's like, okay, let the show run. That you take out the specialness of that overrun. If you let it happen naturally without all this hoopla of we have extra time for the show, what it says to me is you just can't book your show in a timely manner, so you need extra time. It doesn't add anything to it. And when WCW did it, they didn't necessarily announce it, they didn't necessarily make a big spectacle out of it, but they made it important and usually had a cliffhanger. AEW doesn't leave you on any cliffhangers. Do they have stories? Yes, they have stories that they're building, but their stories almost seem secondary and just kind of minute. I mean, Mercedes Moné, is she invested into Willow Nightingale? Is she invested into the TBS title? Where is she really going? And she's already starting. Now, the Bryan Danielson Will Ospreay match is, what we expect. And it's been fairly good in some of the storytelling, but it could be a little bit better. Joe and Swerve Strickland has definitely been a long time storytelling, but it's also getting to the end of that point where it needs to go. It's time to pull the trigger and either give Swerve this title or end this feud, because it's kind of played out. And if Hangman gets back involved in it, and then you have another issue with all of that. It's just a hot mess. And, Tony needs to give people a reason to come watch next week, maybe watch Collision. And it's not just by booking matches or having certain people on that. I mean, why is Copeland pretty much regulated to being the face of Collision these days, and Collision's not getting the ratings that it should? So what is that telling you? What is that saying? There's something there. Tony's got to really focus on what it is to get those casual fans in. If he's going to have an overrun, have the overrun mean something. Don't tell us about it. Let it overrun and let it be a special moment. Like, you've got to get these matches where we're going to feel they're in. When we know there's an overrun every week, then we don't really care because we're like, oh, okay, the match isn't over. To have an overrun means you should have something big and special going on. And Tony Khan needs to do that. And he needs to leave up more speculation than just mere small doses of, oh, yeah, do you want to know what Mercedes and Will Nightingale are going to do next week? And you got to make it impactful. You got to make it must watch. And Tony just doesn't hit that level. And Dave sits here and applauds him and gives out star ratings like it's candy. And it's not helping the business. We want to see AEW succeed. I want to see AEW succeed. I want AEW to be as successful as WWE. I want that quote unquote Monday Night War feel again. I want to see two companies that are battling out, that are pushing each other to be better, to take it up a level, that are drawing multi-million viewerships, that people are interested. We see people are interested in WWE. Is that partly The Rock? Is that CM Punk's falling? There's a lot of things in WWE that are going on, and yeah, we're in WrestleMania season. After WrestleMania season, we'll have to see if that momentum continues or if it tapers off. AEW needs to find that and build that and put it together and tell there's accountability. I mean, I'd welcome Tony Khan on the show to really sit down and have a real interview, not to belittle him or make him feel small, but to ask these questions and see what he has to say. What is his mindset? What is he thinking? Why is he booking these things this way? To get a better understanding of the man. I mean, I think that's a big key that a lot of people miss is I don't think we understand the man. And I don't know if the man necessarily understands wrestling. Is he a true money mark? Is he just marking out because he has money? He's able to get these big name stars and he's just putting matches together because it's his fantasy booking, or does he really have a master plan? And I would welcome Tony Khan on this show or on the Value of Wrestling to do a full in-depth interview where we're going to ask him questions like that. It won't be softball questions, that's for sure, but we want to get into the detail and the ideology behind what is AEW, how are you presenting AEW, and what do you think is the biggest strengths of AEW, what are the biggest weaknesses of AEW? Where do you think you see this in the next 5 years? Where do we turn that page, and how do you think you become competitive with WWE? These are the things that we should be asking Tony Khan. And I guess, if Tony wants to come on to the Value of Wrestling, we'd be happy to set him up with a time and a place, be a part of that. Anyways, I've ranted long enough. I've talked about Meltzer and Tony to the best of my ability. This may not be everybody's favorite cup of tea, and I understand that, and that's okay. But I thank you for joining me. Thank you for being here. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Ring that bell for notifications. Me and Mr. Paulus Clark will be here later tonight with your SmackDown post-show review, breaking down everything that went down on SmackDown. We know there's going to be a lot going on tonight, so we'll wait and see how that plays out. Other than that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. We are trying to grow. We're trying to reach that 1,000 mark. We've got a lot of things going on and are excited about the future here at the Value Wrestling. So be ready for us to do that. Be ready to have fun as we move forward. Once we hit that 1,000 that 1,000 subscriber mark, we are going to have a special giveaway. What that is, we don't know yet, but we'll let you know. So join us for that. Join us. Let's get there. And more content coming out each and every day. So be ready for that. That bell for notifications. I will see you on the next one. I will see you later. SmackDown post show review. That is for sure.